Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Jens Heitland Show, where I interview experts from different fields to connect the dots of innovation and entrepreneurship. Hello, innovators, and welcome to another episode of the Jens Heitland Show, where I interview experts from different fields to connect the dots of innovation and entrepreneurship. Today's episode is another Innovation Breakfast Club episode, where I meet with previous guests to dig deeper into one specific topic. Today's topic is the future of retail. Please welcome back to the show the retail experts Ulrike, Ron, and Stephen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Innovation Breakfast Club meeting. It's great to have you all there. How are you doing?
Morning.
Excellent.
Really well.
Excellent. Hello from New York City.
Hello
Really
from
well.
Chicago.
I'm on vacation. Yeah. Hello from Mallorca. Hi.
Yes, it's morning for Ron and Stephen, and it's afternoon for Ulrike and myself. But it's, of course, breakfast is always an opportunity to chat. And that's what this is all about. So today's topic is the future of retail. And we have three of the the biggest retail experts I know, at least, around this breakfast table. So I'm really looking forward exploring what the future of retail is or can be, and what we can all learn from each other. So let's do a first round on how do you see the future of retail? And we start off with Stephen.
I'm delighted to be here. Ulrike, Ron, great to be hanging out with you. Jens, thanks for bringing us all together, because I know this is going to be so much fun. It's a huge question. A huge question. I think that the first thing I would like to say is retail is not dead, right? And everybody needs to, it isn't. Thank you for that, Ron. It isn't. Retail is just evolving. It's been through a lot of pain. It's been through a lot of pain through its whole history. And that's why it continues to grow. It continues to bring great innovators, great retailers, great ideas, great products to the market, and continues to employ, more people, certainly in the US, than any other industry. And the future of retail, as far as I'm concerned, is bright. I'm sure we're going to get into some technicals and some, innovation and products and retailers and what's happening digitally and my passion for pop-up retailing. But my reaction to your question is retail isn't dead. It's actually thriving because of great people like you have here today with Ulrike and Ron. Because of their passion, because that's the thing that links us all together. We are passionate about our industry. We love the people that we work with because we are continually learning. And I don't know about you guys, I don't think there's a day that goes by where I don't learn something new about our industry and make a new connection with somebody that is as involved and as dedicated to it as we are. So that's my 2 cents, as they say here.
Thanks, Stephen. Let's move on to Ulrike.
So, yes, also from my side, good morning. And it's a real pleasure to be here together with you on the show today. And I can just confirm retail remains the global engine of our economy. And even though many people say, retail has become boring or might be dead or all those drama scenarios, I actually can't share that. I can just say there will always be place for great retailing. And of course, the way retailing appears might be a bit different today and also tomorrow than what we are used to. And I strongly believe that the times for old school or bad retailing indeed is very hard and might be over. So I think we have a fantastic topic today talking about what is the future of retail. I would say the future of retail is already here, as we can see so many pacemakers, big companies in the forefront that already set a new norm or mark for retailing. So do we see many small retailers being extremely innovative and bringing new standards. And it is about everyone to really catch up. It's a fast moving game right now. And if you want to stay ahead, and relevant and have a deep and long-lasting connection to your consumers, you really have to wake up and shake up. So I think we have a lot to discuss today, and hopefully we can bring some new nuggets for the ones listening to us today.
Love the wake up and shake up. Ron, it's yours.
Thank you, John. And I actually can't think of a more exciting and fun topic to speak about with breakfast with friends than our shared love of retail. But I guess what I think of, like, what is the future? I think it's also very much about what is the past, and that when you think about how we connect as a human race, it was initiated via retail, and that it was very human centric, and it was very product focused, and that, you know, as people, you know, maybe, you know, migrated to the US and started to build infrastructures in small towns all from the East Coast to the West Coast of the United States, it was rooted in building communities around retail. And we know that some of the primary, you know, major players, Macy's and other major department stores, were founded by families, you know, that came to the US and built this infrastructure of retail. That it was always about community based and human centric and product focused. And I think the fourth pillar, the future, that is all three of those from the past. The future means it's just more tech enabled, contactless pay, and how we are and train, you know, how we manage supply chain, maybe even how we do visual merchandising. Everything that we do now the future becomes more tech enabled. But the core of every retail business is still being people centric, and how we can motivate and inspire and lead in every kind of retail business all over the world is certainly my personal mission, you know, to do that. But I think we can't forget of how retail began, and that's the best interactions, the best experiences are exactly as they were 1,000 years ago. You're meeting people in your community, you are engaging in product, and you are adding value to everyone around you, and building a brand because of it. So much to unpack there, but I think we have to reference the past.
Yeah.
Love that.
Let's start with
Yeah.
with the past. So what can leaders in retail, if we talk about leaders in retail, what can they take from the past and move into the future, and maybe as well explore on what do they need to change to be relevant for the future? Whoever wants to start.
Can I dive in with that?
Sure.
Retail in the past was, as Ron was saying, was human based. It was the connection of shopkeeper and customer, which however you slice it and dice it, somebody came in to have a conversation with somebody to purchase an item. Right now, when that conversation went well and that customer service was amazing, not good, not great, not kind of okay, amazing, because that's my thing. Those people would come back and would tell everybody, and so customer loyalty built up and brand loyalty built up. As we've kind of gone through the journey, and with technology getting more advanced, we seem to have got away from that in a lot of ways. That interaction with sales associate and customer, and whilst, you know, digital signage and all of that, you know, a few years back was what everybody was doing, and, you know, on shelf displays and all of that sort of thing. How many times has anybody, including us, been into a store and done that, trying to find somebody to talk to? You know, because you want that engagement. 78% of people want to touch, feel, and engage with a product before they buy it. 64% of people will go back to a store and seek out that sales associate who gave them great advice, even if the advice is, actually, we don't sell it, but if you go next door, they have it and they're really good in there, and so on, right? So, and I think what's happened with the advances in technology, that we're actually now going back to that. We need to have that interaction with people, and we need to use that technology in the best way, not to disconnect us from the customer. And I think that's where, certainly in my opinion, big department stores, missed out. If you go back 30 years, department stores were filled with floor walkers looking and managing, and sales associates helping. If you went into a department store, 5 years ago, you were doing exactly what I'm saying. You were looking around trying to find somebody. And I'm sure we're going to get into talking about team building and training, because they're as key as everything else. But I think the what we can learn from the past, in my opinion, is retail was a very, very personal thing, and we need to bring that personal contact, that human interaction back, and solidify the customers' the customer's confidence in the retailer and the brand and the store.
I would just add, one additional point is that the past was also, I think, where companies were highly committed for people to join their organizations with an investment to grow their careers. So Stephen started his career at Woolworths and Co. I started my career at the Gap. That there were these brands who attracted best-in-class talent, best-in-class college graduates, and said, we have management training programs that will take you from entry-level store, corporate, buying team, planning team, whatever it is you want to do, we're here to invest and support in your growth. And I think that is a lesson today from the past that we have to reinvest back in, because I would say there's a handful of brands today who continue to do that, but every single brand has the opportunity to say, we want the best talent possible. And the way that you do that is a commitment to training and development and investment in careers. And when you read, kind of turnover statistics in retail are astronomical. And today there's a whole separate conversation about, kind of inability to staff. But part of that is self-inflicted, because we actually haven't put enough investment back in to say, retail is an exceptional career. You join us, and here's what your career path would look like. Here's what your earning potential could look like. Here's some things that we're going to do for you to retain and train you so that you can become a leader in this organization. I'm someone, started in part-time sales, became a vice president of stores, but that was because companies took an interest in me. I also did the work, but the same idea of, we have to put some money back into training and development that I think we put a little more effort in the past.
Great point.
I would like to jump in here, because I think I can totally confirm what you've just said. So retail is a profession, and retail in many ways is also an art. And I think we've lost it the last decades to mediocrity and also low level. When I started off, actually, you all remember those 4 Ps or 5 Ps from a marketing perspective that guided in one way, saying product needs to be super interesting, price needs to be well set, the promotion needs to be appealing, and also if you think about place, it needs to be in an environment that stimulates shopping. And I think that also when it comes to people having the right advice, having a true consultancy, we lost on all those 5 standard pillars quite a lot. So whether, as you said, Stephen, we did not find anyone to help us out, or as you said, Ron, we did not have enough training to really have people that create a wonderful and inspiring merchandising. So if we go back those magical years of retail, if you think when Macy's started out, or think about the great department stores in London, etc., that was really a wow, how retail appeared in the eyes of the customers. And I think what we can take from the past, that you need to outperform all those 5 pillars today as a standard. So this is nothing spectacular if you have a great merchandise place, or if you have a price that's really worth the money spent, or the product is worth the price, that is just a hygiene factor. And what I believe going forward, there will be more aspects complementing those 5 standard P's. As for example, I call it planet. It's about the product I buy or the connection I do with the retailer. Is it good for the people, for the society, and for the planet? Or people will expect, as you said, I call it pleasure. Is it delightful? Is it worth my time spent to engage in here? And it is also about the personalization. And here we are back to relationships. So I do believe if we want to see a better and flourishing retail going forward, I can just confirm there is no way around than putting people in the center and doing the things we do with all our heart and not just mediocrity, as I said before.
So let me be the
Beautiful.
devil's advocate.
Yeah,
As
go.
I mean, I have a limited background in retail, but I worked on the shop floor as well, so I know a little bit of that. So, but online sales is amazing. Why shouldn't everyone double down on online?
Yeah, I think that online, of course, Jens, I would not even separate in today's world. For me, there is retailing, and actually the lines get blurry. So we always say phygital. It's totally clear that you have a smooth back end that is steered by technology, powered by digitalization, that makes it easy to shop with someone if you think the organizational part or the fulfillment part. But of course, there's also something where we want to get content and something that truly touches us. And that usually happens physical, but that can also happen digitally. If you think how live commerce is going wild in China and also now here in Europe and in US, I believe, it's just there, a human being translating or bringing content to a wider audience through digital solutions. So I think it is both. And if you see like Amazon started off as an online pure player, they also found their way into physical meeting places. And I believe it needs to be both, and we can't rely on one and think we're safe. If you do not manage to connect with the consumer along the entire journey in many different touch points, you will just not be relevant anymore. But what do you think about
Great.
that, guys? Do you share my opinion here?
I would absolutely double down on exactly what Ulrike says, and the idea that you actually need both channels to function effortlessly, that it becomes channelless. And but I think the biggest part that everyone learned, many learned last year, is without a brick and mortar business, your ability to retain your client, grow your client file, and then retain becomes very challenging. And that the most valuable clients are those that shop in every part of your business, from social to e-com to in store, and that their connection to the brand, their ability to stay within the ecosystem of your brand only happens when there are multiple touch points. And so when brick and mortar was missing from that equation, everyone's scrambling to acquire clients and retain them. And in a sea of millions of websites, it's very easy to become distracted without that human touch, without the live shopping, as you referenced. And so absolutely double down, but more importantly, double down on brick and mortar at the same time.
Yeah,
It's probably
I
also
like what you
different.
said earlier.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say in retail, we often talk about a need purchase or an impulse purchase. And probably my fellow men here on that board have heard about that. So I believe that if it is something, let's say you need new toilet paper or whatever, something boring, you probably want to have it quick and easy, and you don't mind to having it delivered online or shop it online or even automatic. You do not want to bother with those kind of stuff. But of course, if we really want to touch people, and we should never forget that many people shop for pleasure, then you need to have those places where you really touch and you're there. So I see this important dimension of brick March. I absolutely
Yeah,
agree. For long-term
I-
relationship, you need to see each other face to face.
Totally agree. I like that point you made earlier about that retail is the engine of the global economy, and actually, online businesses are now the fuel that's driving that engine, because as you said, even Amazon has something like, I think, 7 different retail formats now. If you look at successful online brands, Warby and Parker, Peloton, Casper, Untuckit, that have been growing their brick and mortar footprint for exactly the reasons that Ron was saying, that you need all of those multiple touch points. And the thing that as wonderful as online shopping is perceived to be, it lacks that human touch.
Right.
It lacks that human touch. And yes, I know people are experimenting with video, and we have influencers and all of those things, but is there nothing nicer than being in a store and putting something on and somebody going, that looks really good on you, or
Yeah.
why don't you try this, because or this belt goes well with that, cross-selling, upselling. We'll get to all of that, I'm sure, but that whole human interaction that's built in our DNA, that a screen just cannot give you. And I know people throw back that, well, we'll send you it, you can try it on before you buy it and all of that, but that's not the same. And it doesn't satisfy that impulse buy that we might want to have. And I know you've got people like GoPuff here in the US have launched around, getting you things quick and from convenience stores and so on. But where are they grabbing that from? They're actually grabbing that from brick and mortar stores. Grubhub is buying stuff out of 7-Elevens. So without that foundation of brick and mortar retailing, there's a complete disconnect now between buying it online and getting it actually to the consumer. Not everybody has a huge Amazon warehouse. So I think you're both right. The whole aspect of I think the future of retail is that everybody can coexist in this way, and that we can learn from each other. What I'm seeing with digital brands coming out and doing pop-ups is, yes, they can drive footfall because they have a following, which is fabulous. And what does that mean for the host site? Well, if the whole experience is good, they will come back. So we can learn from those sorts of things. I think the disappointing thing is that established retailers never caught on to that as quickly as they should have done, and that's why, unfortunately, we're seeing that the demise of some of those brands that we all love so much, because they lost being in tune with the consumer. I think that's the only way I can put it. They stopped realizing they were in a human business. And online started to satisfy that need for, I think they know what I want. So
yeah. If we double down on that part, which if we take it to a high level, this relationship piece, how important is it for the future, and how to bring it into the future again, in a multi-channel environment where you have different, like Ron said, on social, on digital, on physical. How do you do that as a retailer, specifically if you are, like, maybe it's easier if you are just one store and the people who are living close by, compared to a global brand that's serving a lot of customers in different countries? Relationship, how important? How do you keep it? How do you work with it?
I want to say it starts with recruitment.
Yeah.
Recruitment of the right people is where it starts. But guys, just dive in. Otherwise, I'll.
I was just going to add. I think when I was leading Saint Laurent for the Americas, so this is a brand that has a large global footprint, has its own brick and mortar business, has a kind of third-party e-commerce business, has a large wholesale business, and a lot of fast-moving parts and a lot of product in high demand. And so the idea of how do you maintain control of the experience in all of touch points comes down to exactly what Stephen was saying. It comes down to people. So if I'm hiring, this is a concession, luxury brand with a concession model in Bergdorf, I'm managing that experience in 200 square feet. Then I walk 3 blocks to my 4-story flagship on 57th Street in New York City. And here I have 100 people that I am entirely dedicated to the customer experience. And then the channel then on social becomes about how do we continue to engage. And then through e-commerce, even if it's third party, it's really part of just the addition into the experience of maybe out of stock sizes. And then from there, the intimacy, particularly in luxury, is about who are your kind of most influential clients. And from there, then you really take care of, taking clients to Paris to go to the show, taking clients out to dinner. I felt like I was the head of entertainment sometimes, but it was versus head of stores. But the most important part is client retention. So in luxury, it is about retention. And every brand has the opportunity to say, how can I, in every touch point, retain my best and most valuable clients? Sometimes that's taking them out to dinner. Sometimes it's just having a great store experience. Sometimes it's finding something for them that we don't even sell. There's an intimacy that can't be replaced by a one-channel e-commerce business.
Ulrike, you have had some more
Yeah,
topics.
I also believe that in the core, as we said before, it's people, and it can't be anything else. And I do believe it's a make it or break it point. If the relationship isn't right, people will not stay with you for long. And on the other hand, I have also experienced if, for example, you have a great connection to a salesperson, and then you might have queues at the checkout. People are willing to forgive you because the relation is so good, because they like you or they like the brand. So, and the same as if you have in one store, you have a great experience, think about a retail chain, and then another day you visit another shop and the experience is awful. People will not stay with you. So I truly believe this is the biggest nut since ever. So this is nothing new. How to retain salespeople that are truly passionate about serving people, that care about their business, that care about the shop they work in, that care about the smooth operations online or whatever. So having a strong identification and making everyone working within retail, not only in the front end, also in the back end, aware how important this people factor is. And that unfortunately today in a global society, every brand somehow is replaceable. If you don't make it to show up and to have the best stuff personal ever, people have other choices and they might leave you. So I think I totally agree that you need to have this people part right at all times. And often we manage to have one lighthouse or flagship store where everyone is looking at and says, oh, wow, that's great. But it doesn't represent the entire company, so to say. So whether you just have 5 shops or you have 5,000 shops, that's your biggest work to ensure that people deliver a great experience for the consumer seeking out.
Maybe if we take that example, Ron, you have been executive and work with a lot of people, and you now as well do that with your own business. So how do you educate leaders? Because it's about the leaders who get the new talents on board and as well educate the talents and take care of the people inside of the organization. How do you do that, and what would you recommend retailers to do and leaders in retailers to do?
The first thing that I always recommend is that if you aren't someone like myself who grew up in stores, spend more time in stores. And that the answers to your questions come from the people who do the work every day, who engage with the customer standing in front of them. And you could travel the country, which is what I spent most of my life doing, sitting down and talking to retail teams. And they will give you every answer you need to know about product, about infrastructure, about store operations, about process, about what the customer thinks. You don't need reporting you need to sit and listen and then act. And often senior executives for every company, if you came from finance or planning, or there are many other avenues to end up on a senior leadership team. Often the head of stores is the only one that came from stores. And so I felt like often I was the champion in the room of 80% of the revenue of this company comes from the channel that I lead. And I have all the answers to the test. So let's go on a tour and I will tell you exactly what's going on here. Because you could sit in a conference room all day and debate the sales flash. Well, what's happening in this store? Well, let me tell you about this general manager. Let me tell you about the sales team. Let me tell you about this location. Let me tell you about the product assortment and the call outs. It all comes from the stores. And you listen and you learn. And what happens is you put that effort in and you've gone on this tour, you've taken notebooks full of notes. The minute you actually do something with that feedback and go back and say, I really appreciate the fact that you shared that with me, and here's what we're going to do differently now as a company. The commitment that comes from the store teams when you do that and you change something based on their feedback is irreplaceable, because now you've retained your best people because you changed a process that they gave you feedback about. And then they will go back and tell their friends of like, wow, Ron came, visited, and then we talked about this, and literally a week later, I got an email back saying, this is what we're doing differently now. You can't replace the power that comes with that or the impact that has on your business. And sometimes it just sounds funny to say, spend more time in stores, but it's true. Nothing can replace that.
No, Rod, you're absolutely 1,000% right on that. The sharp end. Right, absolutely. The retail background I came from was there was a complete disconnect between those people working in a head office function and those people working in stores. Operations had never worked in a store, but they were, and there was this whole oh, it's head office, they must know what they're doing. The reality is they didn't. I mean, they were kind of making it up as they went along, because they didn't know what was going on. And so the more retailers, the more retail management teams get out and go and talk to their staff, and you put it so well earlier on about showing people and mapping out a future for them in retail, so you recruit the right people, and then you can see the change. You get a visit. I remember when I worked for Woolworth, our district manager would come and visit us. And we were all on parade, like guards outside Buckingham Palace. But it was more around, was the place clean and tidy, than what was happening operationally. What were our customers saying to us? What was happening at the back door when things were coming in? And so you felt powerless to affect any change. And the smart retailers that have been successful have embraced that and have said, tell us what's going on, because we need to know from you, because you're doing it every day. And any CEO, any leadership team in a big retail environment right now that isn't getting out and getting around their stores and talking to their employees is leaving so much on the table. It's unbelievable. And you're absolutely right. You want to know what's going on, go and talk to the girl on the checkout. You want to know what's going on as far as stock's concerned, go and talk to the guy on the loading bay. You want to know how the economy's doing in your town, go and talk to the store manager, because they've got their fingers on the pulse the whole time. So you're 100% right. 100% right.
So if we take this, do we then, or do retailers need to change the management team to be future fit? If they're not doing it right now, if they're not coming from stores and have, let's say, worst case, even no interest in going into stores, they just want to be in the ivory tower.
Yeah. Well, I'll let
I would say
Ulrike answer that.
That would be very bad. So if you have that, you should get rid of it. No, but of course, if you want to work in retail, it can't be that anyone would say, oh my God, I don't want to get my hands dirty, or I don't like the stock, or I don't like the cash line, or I hate people. If you have that, there is no discussion, then you are just in the wrong industry. I have a hard time to envision any industry where a leader could survive saying, I hate people or I don't like people. So it needs different leadership. It needs leadership that is committed, but that is also holistic and that sees the totality of business and not just single parts. So of course, if you work in retail, you need to be customer obsessed, as we always say, and that is equally important. How do we show up physically in our stores or other touch points, but also how do we show up? How is our performance online? Because sometimes people celebrate themselves, let's say, for a great review in a store, but if you look on the totality, maybe your online business is really on a low level, so you should optimize. So I think you need to have people that are able and capable to see the totality and that are able to motivate people to truly change and have a finger on the pulse. And another aspect that I just wanted to bring, because that's also one dimension of leadership, is what I had seen, unfortunately, several times, that we also tend to celebrate too early, or what I wanted to say, being happy with a too low level, celebrating mediocrity. And I think leadership, one dimension is also, of course, in the right way, but to define and bring to the table clearly where we have our potential fields. And I've seen it so often that we missed out to grow, because then people would say, oh, your store looks so nice, looks better than the other store in another district. But actually not good enough if you compare it to the competition or to the overall development in the industry. So if we want to evolve and if we want to be innovative and delivering state-of-the-art experiences, one truth is that we need to dare to say the things as they are. So to say, yeah, I experienced today, let's say, very knowledgeable co-workers, very passionate, but I have to say that the merchandising is on a low level. Or let's have a look on the KPIs together to see that when it comes to overall customer satisfaction, we are not on the right niveau. So I think this is something, despite the fact that you need to have people that love people, that are able to connect and engage, you also need to have people that truly understand the business in its totality and how to address the points that needs to be optimized.
I would like to go from the leaders towards the talents. So what if we look into the future, what do we need to do, or what do retailers need to do to get the best talent of the world, of the industries, and be relevant already early on when young kids or youngsters are choosing their profession? And if we just take an example from Germany, retail is not the highest paid starting job, and I guess that's similar in other countries as well. So
Mhm.
and I know that young people are not all into money, but it's a kind of part of growing up to say, hey, I want to finance my life. I want to go into my own apartment. I want to live with my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. um so how do we do that? How do retailers do that, and making retail sexy for young people?
Mm. I would love to start, Johns. Because I just had this example. I traveled and spent some time with my family in Arizona this past weekend, and I have a first year college cousin who sat with dinner, and he just he'd had some retail experience, part-time retail experience, but was almost like it seemed irrelevant to him, and as if it was kind of a forgettable part of his resume. We talked about LinkedIn. He's not on LinkedIn. We talked about Clubhouse. Never heard of it. We talked about Instagram. No, I don't like Instagram. I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about how you present yourself as a young person going into the industry as a first year college student. You worked in a part-time job in retail. Don't dismiss that. You worked in a multi-million-dollar business. You learned how to work on a team. he played sports. So let's talk about the correlation between how to work on a team in a corporate environment and what that means in relation to sports. You learned visual merchandising, you learned store operations, you learned cash management and use the registers. So like I could give you 10 more things. So like that part of your experience in retail is incredibly relevant to the future of whatever it is that you want to do as you're studying business. And it's almost the idea of providing language for young people to use about the relevance of their retail experience. And because more often than not, I see it just dismissed as, well, I just did that to get some extra cash. No, actually, you did that, and here's what you learned. And then how do you propose it? And he said, well, I don't want to use LinkedIn because I don't have any experience. And I was like, actually, you do. So like, let's build a LinkedIn profile. And I think there's some kind of marketing effort we need to do, which is kind of what I do every day, around the importance of these roles in stores, and that they're not forgettable, they're not temporary, and they can lead to greatness in your career, no matter what you do. But you have to understand the language and how to sit down and have an interview and articulate what you learned in your retail roles, assuming that they were well led, which is a whole separate topic, because you could have a very poor leader who didn't teach you anything and it was the worst experience and you quit on week 3. That happens. So I think that there's a balance of, we need great leaders who welcome new people into their businesses, who say, I'm so excited that today is the first day of your work for the rest of your life. And I'm going to make this the best possible experience for you, that you go home and tell your dad, oh my God, I love working. I love working wherever. And because this is what happened. I was well interviewed. I had a great onboarding experience. I was well trained. I felt success as I started my first day. That sets someone up for what it means to work for the next, we won't even say how long. And I actually find great joy in setting people up to win.
I love that. I love that. Celebrate the achievements, right?
Yeah.
And understand that what you're doing is of value to you and others, right? As you said, you can learn. I think I said this earlier, that I learned so much in those early days as a management trainee about interactions with people, but I was learning all these other business skills as well, cash management and HR and so on. I think in our industry, we're really good at telling the industry, this is a great person and this is worthwhile, and look at this guy as an example of success, and this is somebody that really has those values that great retailers should have. I don't think we do that enough outside our industry to promote what Jens is saying about attracting people into the business. And celebrate the fact that here is an industry that has so many facets, that you could start your career in fashion, you could be working in technology, you could then be working in home improvements, you could then be working in luxury goods. There are so many different avenues that you can go down with this retail road, that the talent pool should be beating a path to our door. Now, Simon Sinek says that if you're the right brand and so on, and people buy what you do, not buy why you do it, not what you do, that people want to come and work for you. And I think that some retailers get a bad rep for that. Oh, I don't want to go and work for them, because they've had that poor experience. Ron, as you said, they turned up, nobody knew what they were doing. Oh yeah, go and talk to so and so. They'll take care of you. I've seen it happen. I'm sure you both have. And you kind of, oh my, what are you saying about the business now? Because if that's how you treat people that you're paying to do a job, how are you now treating the consumer, right? So I think that retailers have really got to promote themselves. People want to run and work for Apple in retail. because of the way that Apple has positioned itself. And so I think retailers have to kind of embrace that as well, and that will attract great talent. There's great talent at store level that never gets identified as well, and that's a big thing for me as well. I think that there are people that live, breathe, eat, and sleep that brand, that business, that brick and mortar environment, that whoever just never get identified, who's somebody that could move the business forward in a real positive way as well. And I think that's a huge shame. Ulrike?
Yeah, here I'm back. Actually, I see a small seed that we need to water well, because other industries, if I remember back when I was about what do you want to do with your life, many people wanted to work in insurances or in banking, because this is where, yeah, you were supposed to earn a lot of money. And I think in today's world, we see that especially those classical industries will disappear. So people that had been striving, I want to work in an insurance. I wonder how many people will work in an insurance in the future where everything is digitized, or think about banking or other like tax insurances, etc. So I do believe that as retail is here to stay, we have an opportunity also to say working in retail actually can be a steady thing and can also be a safe thing. And on top of that, working in retail is extremely rewarding. And I think this is also something where I can just agree with you. We need to underline even more. I've seen it myself as a very young woman, have been able to lead a store operation already quite early on. That would not have been possible getting this size of responsibility already at such a young age. And of course, it always depends on who's the middle management, who are the ones really letting young people grow and showing them the beauty of all those different aspects in the business. So I think here we, attending this call, have a role, as you did now, around just promoting and talking about what we did and what it offers. But also retail itself, doesn't matter big or small companies, sharing the stories. And I think employer branding is something that became quite hip the past 10 years. But of course, it needs to be even more, sharing what people did and how they have been growing through those different steps within retail. So great chance, yes. But of course, keeping talent is the another thing. And I think that is something we've just touched about in the beginning of this call, that many people leave. And whether it is they are frustrated at some point, and that is often also linked to low level of leadership. So we need to see how to make our leaders strong to also keep the talent within our companies.
Yeah.
And that needs more than just, I'm happy you're here. So what times of new challenges? What do we give people to extend their knowledge?
Yeah. I would just add one maybe closing thought to this point is around the conversation of kind of diversity and inclusion and being welcoming, that retail, when you think about new generations of people who have a different point of view about how they express themselves and new ways to think, and have a higher bar of what they expect from brands and how they welcome them in. So we've always said that retail is an industry that's open to all, or I say that because the idea of being proud of where you work is you're proud because you are open and welcoming to all. But at the same time, that actually requires the brands to say, we can't have a specific dress code maybe, or that the rules to play in this game can't be so strict as maybe they were. Or that how we identify maybe unique, how we manage sustainability, the things you learn when you do those store visits, like I referenced earlier, you learn about how sustainable you are or not. Are you throwing out hundreds of pounds of plastic out the back door? What are you doing with your damages? You learn a lot about how is the brand sustainable. Do I see myself working on this team? That's how you also attract customers. You walk in and you see all kinds of different people, ages and races and genders, and that is a really welcoming and beautiful way to express retail. That's how you bring people in, is that I feel welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably adding to that, I believe that is also the retail industry as such is much more appealing today. You know, when I started off, it was all about stores. But today you have online operations, you have many different formats where you appear to your customers. So I think that is also interesting. How I handle a pop-up shop is totally different than how to handle a mega store. Or, for example, if just salespeople in the store, today you see more and more, they become influencers broadcasting directly out of the store to a large audience. So also as such, within the industry, it's much more that it offers than the ordinary sales, what it used to be. And I think therefore you also see that today, if you are a data scientist or whatever, people want to work for retailers because it's a lot about content creation, insights that are generated, and a lot of great things to play that back into the business. Yeah.
I think you're right. On that point of content creation as well, you know, staff should be encouraged to be doing that as well. You know, to be saying, I love working here. I love working here so much. I want to show you this cup because, you know, we sell this and I've got one, and how brilliant is it? You know, and encourage that engagement where it includes everybody, and retail is inclusive. You're so right, Ron, and offers a platform for everybody. And I think that's one of the uniquenesses about our industry as well, that we do adapt, and we can adapt faster in some instances than insurance companies or banks or whatever, because we want to embrace everybody. It's a human. We keep coming back to this human factor. It's a human business, and that's why I love it.
Yep.
I was thinking about when we started off saying about what is the future of retail, and now we commonly agree that the people and relationships are at the heart. I was also thinking about, there was one film in the past called Back into the Future, and maybe it is about emphasizing the good things that retail contains of and making that even better and adding new dimensions to be up to date. I was thinking of when you, I believe it was you, Ron, you said that in the past retail was done on marketplaces, a one-to-one relationship. I think that one issue was also that retail became in many cases quite global and uniform. So it didn't matter if I walked into a shopping center in Seattle or in London or in Munich or in Mumbai. It has been all the same stores. You know, you have seen H&M and whoever, everyone, Zara, appeared in the same way.
Yep.
And I do believe that it is very important to have a brand core, so that you as a brand, that you are recognizable. But I believe that in the future, and I wanted to bring that thought. In the past, it maybe was about a brand house, you know, clearly distinctive, what you stand for. And maybe going forward, it will become more local again. So I was thinking about a brand village, where you may have online operations, you have your Instagram, you have your pop-up, you have your flagship store, you have many small stores with just different assortments. So I do believe that in the old saying, I was also part of that, we always said as global as possible and as local as needed. And maybe it's time to switch that around to say, we need a common core, we need to have a distinctive identity, so to say, but we allow ourselves to become local again. So as you see Nike, for example, they also try to do that to localize their assortment.
Yeah.
Or that you say you have your local store teams in Sephora, beauty shops, broadcasting, you know, the latest makeup trend from New York or whatever, so that you engage your workforce to be local, but also that, let's say, global or international brands make the local operations strong, so to say, and going away from this uniformity and always the same. Blah, blah.
Such a great
and by
point.
that, supporting
Such a great point.
mediocrity. Yeah.
Let's take this let's take this point to go into the final round where we look into, so how will retail look in 2030, which is roughly 8 years from now? Stephen, you go first.
Go first.
Yeah. Cheers, guys. Do you know, honestly, physically, I don't think it's going to look terribly different to how it looks now. Physically, I do. Ulrike, I've been saying for a long time, local is the new global, right? That, you know, with us losing retailers and with, you know, more landlords should be investing far more in new businesses, bringing, you know, digital from online to inline, creating community, creating ecosystems within the community as far as employment is concerned, and you know, all of those other factors. So I think I don't think 8 years out we're going to see real massive changes in terms of maybe, you know, the physicality of stores. We will see a lot more innovation, I think, in terms of the back end, you know, the data that people are using, the logistical aspects of AI and how that's, you know, projecting, and inventory management, and all of those cool things that are really happening that people outside the industry probably aren't aware of, you know, inventory management systems and predicting sales and when to cut and when to order. And the other thing I think that we will see is that sustainability piece as well. I think that as an industry, we can really lead that sustainability charge for business. And you know, you both made excellent points about that. You know, how much plastic are we throwing out? Mm-hmm. You know, what are we doing with breakages? What are we doing with working with our suppliers to make sure that they're as ethical as that, you know, they can be, that they're paying, you know, proper wages, that the conditions that workers are in are right, and that we, you know, we don't have sweatshops and all the other nightmares that people have been through. So I think retail can really lead that whole fight around sustainability as well. Shoppers will still be shopping 8 years from now. That I guarantee you. And you know, my hope is they'll be shopping in bigger numbers, because, you know, because of this, because we'll be taking this out, and we'll be shopping with this in physical environments. We'll be messaging our friends about what we're buying, and you know, this great sales associate here, and in store great sales associates will be saying, come and work here because it's great, and I know where my career is going. And I truly want to believe that's all the things that are going to happen. But you know, I'm one person, and that's my mission. So that's what I think.
Ulrike, what do you think?
So
2030.
I also, of course, 2030, people will continue to consume. The question is, what will they consume? How will they consume? And I do believe that time will be even more precious going forward, and we will be very selective with whom we want to spend our time with whom we want to engage. As you see already today, there's this data overload, information overload. So people will clean up and decide with brand or with stores or shops or online communities they want to have a long-lasting relation. So of course you will always have those one-hit wonders, but I do believe building long relations is something that will be key going forward. And for that, you need to understand that retail is so much more than just shopping. So I also believe you need to build those communities. You need to provide spaces where people can learn, share, rebuild, restore, and maybe also buy. So the spaces we will see will be different. And I also believe that the whole back end, as you just said, Stephen, will be totally automized. So as we see today with the whole Alibaba universe, etc., in China, I think that will be a standard almost everywhere in the world when data privacy allows this. But I think that getting targeted offers and being totally streamlined in the back end will be, a main thing. What else? I think it will be nice. It will be something very surprising. So I very much look forward, because I see already the beginnings today. I think retail will be much more creative. We will see much nicer stores. We will have better people. And at the end, I believe there will be some sectors that maybe disappear. I was thinking, for example, about the classical car dealer. That is probably something you will not see so much anymore. We will do it probably, as I learned here in the Netherlands, it was with Tesla. If you want to drive a Tesla, you meet with someone and you have the test ride right away. So you don't go to a car dealer and have a look at the car, because I believe technology will be so great that we can customize and everything already at home at the screen and have a good experience. But then people will go out wanting to feel the product or to use the product. So, and then we need to see which other sectors might disappear. And the other ones will be even stronger in giving added value to communities, as you see with Apple being strong now with edutainment, etc. Yeah, so a bit different, I believe. Not totally different, I agree, Stephen, but better.
Ron, what are your thoughts?
I actually think Ulrike brings a really good point, and it actually has to get better, because we are in, I believe, a very important inflection point. And I guess I speak primarily about U.S. business, but the pain and the noise. I used a word last week on a video about how noisy it is. It's really complicated and difficult right now in doing business, and it's from infrastructure, supply chain challenges, from COVID, masks, mandates, customer experience, hiring, training, development. Every part of our business right now is probably harder than it's ever been, and it's certainly much more complicated to run a store today than when I was a store manager. And you have to respect that and lead with empathy. But the pain that I think everyone is feeling today will only create greatness on the other end. And that's what I love, the fact that many brands have said we're raising the minimum wage for everyone working for our company across every role across the company. There are brands giving out bonuses to all frontline retail employees, really just as a moment of gratitude. Most brands are doing the right thing and saying, this isn't working, so we have to evolve it. So I think that 8 years from now, I would agree. I think we'll have more interesting retail concepts, more pop-up businesses, conversations about virtual and, the kind of metaverse of product adds a really whole other layer of interest. I think brands have recognized the fact that acquiring great talent means you have to then train and retain from there. They're learning that the hard way today. And all of this pain that I think we're feeling today as stores are back open and customers are back will create greatness on the other side if we take the opportunity to learn and grow from it. And if you just put your head under the table and hide under the desk and say, we just need to get through 2021, that's not a strategy. And you need a strategy to come out stronger on the other side, and it will be great. I think all of us on this call are certainly here to help and support to make that happen. But it's going to take all of us leading together and keeping people's heads above water. And the next 3 months will not be easy. I think we all recognize that. It's going to be a very hard holiday season for a variety of reasons. But if you admit that and say, we're going to be our best, and in 2022, we're going to learn from this, every year it's going to get better.
Can I just say one thing, just to pick up on what Ron was saying around retail? Probably in the past has been considered to be a bit of a dinosaur. I don't know if you guys would agree that retail hasn't embraced change as fast as it could have done. What COVID did was it showed that retail can embrace change quickly and can do it well. And I just hope that momentum continues around embracing changes, as both Ulrike and Ron have said, around all the new innovations that are coming along and the future. So,
yeah.
Great last round. Thank you very much. It's already an hour in. It feels like 10 minutes. I could easily go on for another hour, but then we're Joe Rogan style, and we're not there yet.
Yet. When you're there,
Yeah.
bring us
Next
back.
time. Next time.
Yes,
Absolutely.
let's have a discussion on that.
let's do dinner.
I like it.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And dinner. There you go. Yeah.
With a cocktail.
With a cocktail.
So thank you very much
Real pleasure.
for joining the Breakfast Club today, and it was awesome to meet all of you and discuss the future of retail. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
everyone.
having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. You will find the links and resources in the show notes of this episode. If you would like to support the podcast, the most impactful thing you can do is subscribing to the show on any of the podcasting platforms and give me a review. This will help me to reach more innovators around the world and bring some of you into the show. If you have any question to the guest or want to engage with me, feel free to reach out to me on social media and contact me there. Thanks, and see you in the next episode.